Hello everyone and welcome back to Run It Up Apprentice. Yes, that's right. We're here today playing some 5 cent, 10 cent, no limit Texas Hold'em. Well, we're not playing as much as I am reviewing a hand history sent to me from one of our UK Run It Up warriors. Yes, that's right. All I know is that I've been sent some hands to look over. I haven't pre-reviewed any of these hands. And all I know is that our hero is some guy who uses the username David Negreanu, and he's from Warwickshire. Yeah, that's right. Good old Warwickshire. That's all I know. Let's see how this goes here. Very first hand, our under the gun opponent raises. 9 out offsuit here in the big blind. We could defend. We're getting a really good price, 2.25 to 1. I mean, this is certainly a good enough deal for me. If you're an amateur new player, I think folding is okay, you know, or if you know this guy, cost 717. Oh my god, you never defend light against cost 717. You know, if that's a thing, then you can fold, but I think I would call here most of the time. Let's see what David Negreanu does. All right, he says no thank you. Apparently David Negreanu is kind of a nit. Okay, that's fine, you know, whatever. It's not awful. I'm not like mad at you yet, you know, but we'll see how this goes. 2 9s here with a call on the button against a guy who's min raising. I feel very confident that we likely have the best hand. I would like to see us raise here. I think anything above 80 cents is probably fine. I mean, 80 is like the bottom, I think, of the pricing I would make here, and I think the high end is like $1.20. Somewhere between the two is probably correct. I think $1 is probably like right on the mark. Let's see what David Negreanu does here. It's like the price is right. You know, what is he going to do? I don't know. Let's see where he ends up at. Oh, he just calls. No. This hand is too good to just call. You know, this guy in the button here is probably calling with such a wide variety of hands that we're just like getting more money in the pot with the best hand, you know, pre-flop. We're just going to charge these guys for having their random nonsense. And I think our hand is, you can classify this hand to be more like jacks than sevens, you know, where I think sevens is okay to call here, although I think I would still raise there sometimes. But I think you look at jacks and like queens and you'd be like, well, of course we raise. I think the principles of why you would raise those are the same as why you would raise nines here, right? Especially given the fact that we have the button here who could be calling with such a wide variety of hands that I really would like to see us raise here and put the squeeze on. I like that squeeze. I haven't done a squeeze like that before. I like it though. Very squeezy. All right, but no squeeze here, unfortunately. We are just saying, all right, let's see a flop dealer. Pretty good flop for us all in all. I'd like to see us check. Yep. Check, check, and check. Okay. Now, I would read this to mean that we almost for sure have the best hand. I mean, it would take some wacky hijinks for us not to have the best hand here. What, this guy's got a jack and checking? I don't think so. So I'd like to see us bet here. Something around 50 cents sounds about right. 40 cents seems okay to me. And we take it down. Good work, kid. Ace-7 here. Would like to see us raise. Yep, looks good. And we ship that. Nice. Ace-Queen, same thing. Okay. All right, so once again, here we are against cost 717. I would like to see us start with the bet. I actually wouldn't hate check calling either. I think check folding is the worst of the options, though, because ace-queen is a pretty good hand. 9, 10, 5. Why are we check folding? I think ace-queen is the best hand here pretty often, so I would like to see us not fold. Whether we bet first or check and then call, I think either is valuable. I actually think both paths have very reasonable decision trees that can come out of them. I think check calling is okay, but I think betting probably creates more mistakes for our opponent, because by betting we kind of represent that we could have anything good, whereas by checking by checking and intending to call, we're kind of saying we have a hand that we're like not sure of, or at least so we represent the story, right? Think about the story that we tell people where if we bet here, can we have aces? Yeah, sure. This guy could think we have aces. We raise and then we bet. Why can't we have aces? But if we raise and then we check, do we have aces? Probably not, you know. So we kind of induce our opponents to put us in the cage a little bit by checking, because we're playing our hand kind of straightforwardly. And when we continue, our opponents may correctly read that we're like a little bit uncomfortable with the board, which is why I kind of just like betting to begin with. We protect our hand a little bit. We avoid making mistakes. We make our opponent make some mistakes. If he has 2 4s, is he going to call? Probably not. So I think I prefer betting to checking here. Our opponent, our friend rather, hero, decides to check. And against a pot size bet, or even a little bit bigger, I think we just fold here. I think that's fine. I would have called if he had bet like 30 cents, but I think for a pot size bet, you say, okay, see you later, money. All right. Okay. So this table seems a little passive. Very weird that Queen 5 would open and then not bet any of these streets. Not that he would have necessarily got it done, but he might have if he bet flop, and definitely if he bet flop and turn, I believe. So good to note that this yellow rose guy is pretty straightforward. Wow. So Having just seen that very last hand, if we had just hit play and gone to the next hand, I would have said, okay, it's fine. But because we just saw that guy play queen 5 that way, I would never fold this hand here. Because we just saw this guy basically play his hand completely straightforwardly. He has no pair, he checks it down and says, okay, we play who has the best hand game. So against a guy like that, I'm going to really want to take flops against him and put him in some hard situations, because we know that he's not going to put us in any difficult situations whatsoever. So if it comes down, ace, jack, 8, and our opponent goes hog wild, we can kind of suspect that he's not got nothing, And similarly, like if the flop comes down 6, 8, 9, and our opponent checks back, and the turn card is a 3, we can almost for sure win that pot because our opponent has waved the white flag, and we know that he kind of waves the white flag very easily. So even if he doesn't fold on the turn, we could probably bet turn and river and be successful at a very high percentage of the time. But instead we fold, so we move on to the next hand. But I think that all makes sense, right? So in this spot, I think that's kind of similar to the 9-8 hand. If you're folding the 9-8 hand, you should logically fold this hand as well. So I think if you're trying to have like a consistent logical thought process, which is a good thing to strive for in life, I believe, you would probably fold this end of the 9-8 hand, and you wouldn't call this end the... And, it would be inconsistent to fold that and call with this. But I think you should call with both. Let's see what our friend here does. This hand is certainly fine enough to call. I don't think you're getting a great price. We have a certainly viable enough hand. All right, we fold, which I guess is consistent. So at least we're old consistent David Negreanu over here, You wouldn't call Daniel if you need to get picked up at 4 a.m. You would call David. Be like, hey, David, my car broke down. I need some help. I'm on the side of the street here in Warwickshire. And I don't know what else to do with my life. You would call David. You wouldn't call Daniel. All right, very consistent. I like it. All right, hopefully we'd raise this. Yes, that sounds right. Okay, off to the flop with yellow rose. So this is a great situation for us. Having seen how he played the hand an orbit ago, I would raise this guy's big blind with almost any 2 cards because we just know how he's going to play. And with aggression and initiative, we're going to win so many more than our fair share of pots. And that's the thing that is good for us as the hero. So here we are. Our opponent now bets. So we've seen this guy play straightforwardly as the aggressor. Now he was the defender, and now he's being aggressive. So am I concerned here? I'm a little concerned. But I also feel like he could be doing this with as kind of a question. He could be like, hey, do I have the best hand with my 6-7? And in which case, we're gonna say maybe not is the answer. Maybe is the answer we want to give him. So I'd like to say it's just call here. I don't think raising accomplishes very much especially against a player like this. If he bets flop, turn, and river, I would be suspicious that we are beaten. But as of right now, I think all we can do is call. David agrees. His name is not really David, by the way, but I'm going to call him David for the sake of this video. All right, so let's see what happens now. You would think if he has a 6, he would check. I would anticipate that if he had a 6, he would check. I would also anticipate if he had a deuce that he would not lead, but, it's possible, I guess. He could bet a king here twice. If he actually bets here, I would be concerned for sure, but I don't think I would fold just yet. But I would actually consider it given that one hand. Now, it's only a one-hand sample. It's not like we watch this guy for 8 hours and now we know everything about his life. We know he likes to watch I Love Lucy every Saturday night. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know that much about this guy just yet. But it's possible he might. He's very nitty. It's very possible. So I don't know enough, though, to be 100% sure. So I'm inclined to act off that belief that he's straightforward. But, we obviously don't know. We don't know his life just yet. He checks now. So this makes me feel like we almost for sure do have the best hand. So let's talk about what we should bet, or if we should bet, I guess. So I think we should bet because we probably do have the best hand. If he had a king, he'd probably bet, or at least he'd at least consider it. I think he'd at least consider it. We could arguably check back and then bet the river, or call if he bets, but bet all rivers. If we think he's only calling one street, that's possible. But given that he bet out on flop, he probably had something. And if he has a 6, he might stick around. I think I like betting towards the smaller side of things. I wouldn't bet I think it's a mistake to bet over $1 here, because if he has a 6, he's going to just fold. He's going to be like, he probably has me beat and folds. So I think we want to encourage him to stick around, and we know that he needs encouragement, particularly this kind of fella. So I think I'd like to bet even 50 cents would be sweet. 60 cents is cool. Anything higher than half pot I think is a mistake. Or checking is fine if we're planning on putting him on layaway. We'll get our money on the river. I think that's fine as well. Okay, we decide to check. The layaway plan it is. All right, so having played the hand the way we played this hand, I can't imagine that we can fold now. First of all, this is towards the early part of our session, so I'd like to call and see what he has, how he's been playing this hand. We're going to get a lot of information out of this hand. If he shows up with King Queen here, we go, okay, so it isn't always straightforward, or what, we can kind of build some assumptions about his thought process based on what he shows up with here. And I think even without any of that extra value EV, I don't know what this is, but I think this is like extra. This is normal value. This is normal, and then there's extra on top of it. Okay. But I think there's extra value here, not in information, but even if you ignore all that, I think there's still a healthy chunk of value to be had by just straight up calling here. I think he shows up with sixes, sometimes random nonsense, sometimes maybe he has a hand like 2 9s once in a while that was playing passively. And if I didn't say nonsense, I should include nonsense in that as well. Once in a while he'll just have like 7 8 and he'll be like, okay, good try. So let's see what we do here. It would be a heroic fold, that's for sure. All right, we do call. Jack and 10. No. Okay, so kind of weird that as the aggressor with the Queen 5, he puts no dollars in the pot in a situation where almost everyone else would. But in this spot, he decides to lead and then bet, and then so kind of interesting that this is the spot he decided to be aggressive. So my determination on this guy is that he's kind of just clicking buttons a little bit. He's like passive. He doesn't quite understand aggression or hand reading. Same thing as Ace 5. I'd love to see us call here, but we're still folding. Consistency. You gotta evolve, David Negreanu. You gotta be like Kha'Zix or the alien from Alien. You know what I mean? You gotta evolve and change. You're looking at your opponent. You should be seeing how they're doing and then adjust to your play. If you're playing against some sicko like Cos 717 or somebody, then okay, sure, you can fold your Ace 3 or something like that. But in this guy, against this guy, like he's offering you a situation to play a pot against him with an ace, which is already going to be probably an okay situation. It's a situation where if you were playing against like, Phil Ivey is a good example, you could fold those hands and say like, well, what am I really making in this spot anyway? He's going to outplay me. He's going to do all these things. And okay, you can give him some credit in that case. But against the guy that we've already seen to have these kind of like weak sort of tendencies, we want to take up those situations. Like that's the kind of guy that these other guys could all be great or fish or whatever, but we've already seen that this guy does things we can exploit. So we want to target him and play more pots with him when we can, in or out of position, but in position would be even better, of course. All right, kind of a tight fold here, but I think it's all right. Got to protect that $1.50. Got to protect that $1.50 profit, yo. Raise it up here with 2 6s. Not significantly better than Queen 10, I'll point out, especially since we gained a player there. For 10 cents, I'd really like to see us call here. I mean, really like to see us call here. Yeah, this is way too tight. The 9-8 hand was too tight. The 10-9 hand was okay. I mean, okay. This is just like beyond too tight. We're getting such a ridiculously good price that you have to give this guy such an astounding amount of credit to fold this hand. It's just like too much. Like even if you are an amateur and a new player and you want to avoid marginal situations, this is just too good. Like you're gonna win this hand often enough. Even if you only continue when you make a draw or a pair. Even if you only, you're basically playing like fit or fold post flop, you're getting such a good price against the min raise here, you really would like to stick around. Just saying. It's a thing that you really want to consider. And if you're a tournament player or a sit-and-go player, you would particularly be inclined to call in spots like this if there were antes. It's the same sort of logic that you have to consider that every single decision it's kind of like a blackjack hand or something like that, where you're being offered a price on every action you take has a value to it. And by folding here, you're making a mistake. Given the wealth of hands your opponent can have in this spot, you're making a mistake mathematically, given the price you're being laid, that even though your hand is probably not the best hand, you win this often enough that by folding, you're making a mistake mathematically. So we do fold. That's sad. Daniel would not approve. That is true. He would disown a little David over there. Sorry, David, taking you to the orphanage. Why? I don't want to go. Sorry, Dave. Sorry, Dave. You're out. You're out of the family. Get out of here. I had to stop clicking to make the gesture. Otherwise, you wouldn't know what I was talking about. All right, this is another spot that I would look at green light go. Let's attack this guy, but nope, we say no thanks. Wow, sick re-raise from Cos 717. Gets it done. Okay, so this is a spot where I would like to see us call. We do call. I was ahead of myself a little bit. We're getting a really good price, obviously. We're getting a ridiculously good price. Even if we have to set mine, which we probably do against two people, I still think this is an okay spot to do so. Not quite there. I would be inclined to just fold here against a guy we don't know. Is it possible we have the best hand? Sure, everything and anything is possible here and run it up. But I think folding is fine. We get ourselves into some weird spots. We're like calling, hoping he shuts down. We have to like A, have the best hand, B, hope he doesn't bluff us, C, hope he doesn't improve. So I think all of these things make me just generally want to just say, okay, you got this one, Nautilus. All right. Okay. Yep, I would fold that, even though we do have position. I think this is okay. I call a lot of these spots, and I do think that it is a viable path to some amount of profit to call here. Play a pot and make our opponent's lives a little bit more difficult. But it's okay, obviously, to just fold, especially if you're a little bit new to poker. I think folding here is okay. But I would argue the same math that I talked about with the 7-6 as far as calling goes, it still applies here as well. And we can find out so much more about our opponents. Maybe our opponent is like a marshmallow over there. We don't know that until we test him. This is how I test marshmallows, apparently. That's like ringing a doorbell, almost, something like that. I don't know, but yes, we haven't tested our opponent, so how do we know until we try? Am I right, people? You're right. Anyway, ace jack offsuit here in the button. I'd like to say his call. It could also re-raise. I think that's also fine. We could raise, we could call. As long as we don't fold, I think either option is perfectly arguably viable. Now, I would never fold this spot. Ever. Never. Because we have ace jack, and he's just betting. He's raising a lot. He's betting a lot. Ace jack is pretty good. We have 3 diamonds. We have a 3 straight. Very optimistic. But we have a 3 straight. We have 3 diamonds. And we have ace jack. I would not fold here. I would actually anticipate that our friend is going to fold, because he's been pretty tight before. But this is a great spot. We have A, position. B, likely the best hand. We have some sick cards that could come. Let's say a turn is a 5 and he has ace queen. Is he going to check call? Probably not. If he has even a hand as good as, like, I don't know, let's say he has a hand like 2 3s, or even a hand like ace 4, and the turn card comes like the 6 of diamonds. Is he really going to check call? I mean, he might, but you're not for sure, right? So because we have position, we might get him to fold better hands, and even if we might have the best hand already. So I would call here, plus the price we're getting, I would definitely call, but my anticipation is that David is going to say no thank you. Oh, well then, look who showed up to play. Nice call here, Mr. David. All right, let's see what happens now. Okay, so our opponent checks. So we have the decision between checking and betting. Do you guys like that? That was very beautiful. It was like, oh. Anyway, so we got some decisions here between checking and betting, and I anticipate that we will be checking, but I think betting is actually probably slightly better. So let's ask ourselves some questions here. Does he fold better if we bet? Probably, right? And not too much better, but a little bit better sometimes. He might fold deuce or his pocket. No, never folding 3s, obviously, but he might fold like ace queen. Maybe he's bad enough to fold ace king. Maybe he folds ace deuce, ace, something like that, possibly. We also protect ourselves if he has a hand like king queen, because if we check back, he's probably not going to put money in the pot unless he improves. So we drive out his 15% chance to win the hand right now by betting. And I'm not necessarily convinced that if we check back that he's going to bluff with those types of hands on the river, although he might, which would be a reason to check back. So will he fold better if we bet? Maybe. Will he call with worse if we bet? Possibly, right? He might call with diamonds, 8-9, stuff like that. Every once in a while, he might call with like ace 6, stuff like that. Not too often, but it's possible. And I think checking is actually, now that I've kind of really thought through it, I actually don't think checking is really bad either. I think both paths have their merit, and it comes down to like what we think of our opponent and all of that kind of thing before we make a decision here. So if you made me pick one or the other, I think I prefer betting slightly better, purely because of the fact that we would want to bet here with so many other hands that are better than this, that like we kind of put this hand in the, imagine we have 2 groups, right? We have good hands and we have bad hands, right? I'd rather put ace jack and pretend it's a good hand and like bluff it almost, kind of like sort of like pretend that it's a stronger hand than check back and kind of be like, hey, look, we have a weaker hand. Probably primarily because of the fact that we do have a more weaker hand, right? So because our hand is more weak, I'd like to play it more strong very simple, actually, how poker works when you boil it down to like that. But I think I'd rather play our hand less like what it is and thus bet. Let's see what David does. But actually, either decision here is fine. There'll be no whipping this hand. I like it. I'm happy we made the bet. Nice job. Nice play. Nice play. That's right. A little bro fist for you there. Pound it out, bro. You did good. You earned it. You made him quit. He said, no, I'm sick of this. I'm out of here. All right. Nice job. You made him leave. That's always a nice feeling. Would think you fold here, but I would defend. You do not. Consistency. All right, this is fine. It's alternate universe. You kids want to raise out of the small blind. I give you my best wishes. I believe you're making mistakes, but, it's traditional, conventional raising out of the blind. I would also tell you that your raise sizes seem to be 3x or not. I would tell you that you should highly consider trying min raising out just because, hey, why not? Experiment a little bit, shake your life up a little bit over there. Who knows? Maybe min raising will do cool things for your life. You don't know. Maybe they'll call more. Maybe they'll fold more, just the same amount. It's just a thing you should try. You shouldn't just say like, well, I raise 3 times the blind, and that's just what you do all the time. That doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's not optimal. How could it be? You're just doing the same thing all the time. Just something to think about. Like to see us a re-raise here. This guy is pretty straightforward, and I think calling would be okay, but I think we should just re-raise and play a bigger pot. Obviously we're gonna kind of be sending this guy the message that we're strong by raising, but I think that's fine. I wouldn't raise bigger than like $1, and I think even 90 cents is probably fine. $1 seems good. Let me take it down. All right, this is a great spot to min raise because this is the kind of spot where we would like to have our opponent call here. We want to encourage the big blind to play pots with us because he's going to make more mistakes than we are, given that we have position, we have information, we have a skill advantage on our opponent, and we have queen high, which is not a bad hand. Queen nine. We have a very perfectly viable hand here to play on the button. Okay, so yeah, that is a spot. Oops, I guess we should see that hand because I've been looking at all of them. Interesting. So he called and then raised. Okay. Interesting. We didn't get to see a showdown, so I don't really know anything, but interesting, I suppose, nonetheless. The old... Okay. That was the hands of poker. All right. The old queen 3 defend in the big blind. Queen 5 open. Queen 3 defend. Interesting. Okay, looks fine. Okay, I'm gonna stop going through hands, I think, because these are all pretty normal. This was a re-raise pot from Yellow Rose. Actually, interesting. I actually think I will keep watching these because we're gonna develop these opponent profiles as kind of like an experiment for you guys. So I'm gonna actually watch all the hands so you guys can kind of see a little bit as to like where I would draw conclusions from. So I would anticipate that this is strength. I would really be surprised if this guy just had like ace 4 offsuit and did this here. We saw him bluff with the jack 10, but otherwise he's been pretty quiet over the 40 hands we've played so far. Let's see what this actually means. So he checks. Would anticipate that we'll see Yellow Rose bet. If he checks back here, maybe he has like jacks, but jacks or ace king, but he made a mistake by checking almost for sure. Maybe he bets now. If he has jacks, I think he would bet. If he has ace king, he probably will not. Okay. Let's see the cards, boys. Ace 5. Wow. A little surprising there. Also surprising he didn't just bet flop. That would have put a lot of pressure on, this guy's set of hands that he has here. Interesting cold call also by that guy. So we actually probably gain more information on the 7s than we do on the ace 5. Oh, we do gain some information. It seems like he is just like very passive when he's like the aggressor pre-flop, post-flop. He's done this now a couple times, but interesting. Maybe this guy isn't as tight as we thought. Also possible that he is as tight as we thought and he just like, his cat stepped on his foot and now he's really upset, so he raised. There could be any number of reasons why this guy decided to raise this spot right here, right now, but it could also be a timing thing. Maybe he saw something from Nautilus or something that made him want to raise. So it's tough to say from where we're sitting right now why this guy did this, but a lot of information to be mined here for sure. Queen and 8, I assume we are folding. Okay, I think this is alright. I don't love this situation because we're just basically playing a pot out of position with a hand that's not great, but it's alright. I'd like to see us bet, please. Seems fine, maybe a little on the small side, but okay. Bink. I would like to see us bet here because, we have the best hand and all. Okay. One more street, please. $2.21. I don't think you actually bet small cents. $2.20. 180. Oh, okay. I would have made 40 more cents than you on the turn, sir. A6. Wow. All right. So I actually kind of think that this is a spot where you played your hand totally fine. You bet flop, bet turn, bet river. I would have said this to you though, right? So what did you make this hand? You ended up this hand with 15-12, and you started this hand with so like 184. So you made like $3, something like that. This is actually a spot where the best players or the better players will make. This is a spot where sessions and your long-term win rate will be kind of come down to spots like this, right? Because people like me and the people that play professionally will look to maximize how much money we make in this spot, whereas a amateur player will look at this spot and be like, oh, I'm happy I got paid. And he's not from Warwickshire, clearly. And, so I think that you want to look back at hands like this and say, well, where could I have made more money? And you go, well, pre-flop, you pretty much made the most you can make. And then this, you bet a little bit too small. But let's say you bet 50 cents here instead of 40 cents. So now there's an extra 20 cents in the pot on the turn. So now it's 190 on the turn and you hit your queen. So now you say, okay, well, I'm going to bet 120 now. It's like closer to 2/3 pot instead of whatever you bet here, which is 90 cents. So now you get 30 cents more on the turn than you would have got because the pot is that much bigger. So let's say he has a hand like 2 7s, and let's pretend he's calling no matter what. So now we make an extra 30 cents on this street, having made an extra 10 cents on the street before that. So now we're up 40 cents more than we would have made. So we bet there's 190 in the pot in our heads, and wow, I'm gonna do a lot of math here in my head. So there's 190 in the pot, and now we're gonna bet 120, and he calls. So there's 240 plus the 190 in there, and now here we are on the river. So that's an extra 20 cents on the flop and an extra 60 cents on the turn, right? 30 cents more for both of us. So that's 80 cents more. So there's 430 in the pot in our brains, and we bet $3 here on the river. So we get an extra 120 on the river. Now, obviously, in pure dollars, no, it doesn't make a difference. You made an extra cheeseburger if you're eating at a really shitty cheeseburger place. But in terms of big blinds, that's a very significant amount of money because we're playing 5 cent, 10 cent. So looking at it from that perspective, we could have made an extra 20 big bets or something like that. Sorry, 20 big blinds. My limit hold'em player coming out in me. We could have made an extra 20 big blinds this hand, which could be so significant over the long-term sample. Never mind, just imagine we did that with fine-tuning for all of the hands that we ever played. You guys like this? Look at this fine-tuning. It's like fine-tuning or like nipple torture, one or the other. But anyway, so yeah, that kind of fine-tuning is like really crucial if you want to be like a super sicko or maximize your poker sessions and such things. But well played all in all, and I think you played your hand totally fine and good, but I just think that's a good spot you want to look at and be like, I could have made more money there. You can do the or not. That's up to you. I suggest you do it. It's a lot of fun. This is the spot where the hand we just played where we raised with queen jack in the small blind, that spot is very equal, if not lower value than this spot is. Because now we have a suited queen, not much worse than queen jack, but we have position against the guy that we just saw played his a6 like a little bit of a pro. And by pro, I mean awful. Well, okay, that's a little too strong. I don't mean to be too bad about this guy, but I'm just saying, like, the spot we just looked at with the queen jack is not that different in EV, and it might be actually worse in expected value than this spot is because we have position and we're on the position, and our hand is very similar in strength, and we have more information on our opponent. So I would at least consider calling here, if not actually just did the same thing, made it 30 cents, get a heads up, play a pot, go from there. We didn't show up with, like, queen deuce offsuit the very last hand either, so there's no reason for him to be, like, extra suspicious of us or anything like that. So, yeah, this guy seems kind of stationary, which is all the better for us when we have... See, this is exactly what we didn't just do. Like, if we had just done this, then I'd be a little bit more hesitant to do something with the queen six, because this guy is in the small blind, just decides to raise for don't know why reason with queen eight offsuit, which just doesn't make any sense. He just plays a bigger pot out of position with queen eight offsuit. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and is probably just bad, to be honest. But it might be okay. I don't ever really like to judge people for making, they see so much more than I see. Judging people as good or bad is always a mistake, in my opinion. I mean, not always a mistake, but in most cases a mistake. So maybe it was fine for some reason, but my anticipation is like, the reason I was talking about that is that if we had just done that and shown down a hand like that, where we were clearly just like stealing, then we would be more hesitant to play a hand in a little bit more of an aggressive way immediately after, because he is likely to be suspicious of us, and correctly so. But because we showed down a hand like Queen Jack, I don't see any reason to be too hesitant / gun shy there. I'd like to see us defend, but if you defend this, it's not that much different than the 9-8 offsuit math. Okay, consistently. I just don't defend my big blind. No, sir. No, sir, I do not. All right, sure, cool, whatever. You know, you're too busy. You got your things going on. You have the Warwickshire ball you're planning over there. I understand. Life is a busy thing. Okay, so $1, $2, $4, $6, $8. I'm all in. Okay, let's see what this is all about here. Somebody has 5, somebody has queens. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Well played, all in all. All right. Okay. So we were talking about Yellow Rose as our guy that we were like looking at as our target, and we still have information on him and everything, and that's great. But I would obviously start developing a profile on this Lego or Ego guy. No, he just left. Never mind. But I would have had he stuck around. This is the exact same spot as the other ones. Even though he's short stacked, I would definitely still consider calling here. We call, we make a pair, we are all in. It's very easy, you know. I would defend this just like the other ones. Not going to talk about this every single time, but I still think that is true. Would just fold this, of course. Unfortunately. Oh, mega full house. Wow, what is this guy doing? 6-9 off, 6-9 suited. That's a little wild. Would definitely make some notes here about that guy, and don't know why he decided to just go nuts all of a sudden. Bitch, I got queen 9. Queen 9. It'd be more reasonable. I have 6-9 suited. It's just a favorite hand, you know? He's a bit of a pervert maybe or something. Who knows? I don't judge his life. You know, whatever you want to do. Now we defend this. I would tell you that the math of defending this is not that different from the math of defending 9-8 offsuit. Just saying. It's in your brain that you think queen, king, queen is like, oh, I'll defend that. But 9-8, you say, no, the math spectrum is not that far apart. Just saying, yo. Okay, check, he bets. I think we can just fold. He's pretty shallow. You know, you could call or shove if you really wanted to, but I think folding is fine. David agrees. Walks all around. Action table. I'd like to see us raise here. We're in position. This guy is raising. We're punishing him for raising in the small blind. We're so likely to have the best hand here. We'll put him in the value cage a little bit. Don't just call, please, David. Oh, brother. What do you got to do? You have to have kings to raise pre-flop? Come on. This is a clear spot for Value Town, in my opinion. Definitely call, please. Okay. I'm obviously not loving it, but you can't fold yet. There are so many hands he could have. Straight draws, flush draws. He could even have like 2 9s and be feeling himself over there, thinking he has the best hand, which is perfectly reasonable for him to think, to be honest. Oh. Dagger in the heart. The camera is too high for you to see the dagger. That's what I did, though. I'll do it twice, because make sure you understand. You know, is it the worst fold I've ever seen in my entire life? No, it's not. But it's I think it's just too tight. He has so many other things. What are we doing here? Our hand could be so... He thinks we have Queen Jack. Way worse than that. He probably thinks we have Queen 4 or something like that. Not maybe Queen 4. It's probably too loose. But, you know, we could have so many hands that are worse than 10s. 10s are such a higher strength hand than he thinks we have. I don't think we can fold here. Especially with the price. Especially with position. I would not be folding that hand there. This is also not a fold. We have an ace in the small blind. You know, we can just call. I don't think you have to raise. I think raising is a mistake, but let's just put in a nickel and see what happens. I think this is a mistake as well. But again, like, it's not a huge mistake, but I think it's a slight mistake. Okay, just top set. No big deal. Did that ace is flat pre-flop? No, he didn't. He just got unlucky. Straight up unlucky. No big deal. Would raise this as well, especially with our opponent in the big blind, but we've been over that before. Huh, interesting. Interesting. Okay, I like the c-bet. I like the give up. Oh, hi there. Bink! I'd like to bet like $1, $1.10, $1.20. Nice. I like it. Looks good to me. Well played, aka nice river. I would think you fold this, but I would defend this one as well. I don't know who told you not to defend your big blind, but whoever told you that is lying to you and not your friend. Whoever told you, hey, don't defend your big blind, it's never a good idea. They're not your friend. They're probably playing you in poker and told you that, so you would leave them alone or not defend your big blind. But I would arguably defend this as well, but I think this is okay. This is the kind of spot where I would say, okay, if you're an amateur player, don't want to get mixed on there, all right, sure, folding is fine. But, that's a spot where it's a little bit more higher level to at least consider it. But I think folding there is fine, whereas like folding some of the other spots are just like clearly incorrect. Oh, we re-raised pre-flop. There we go. We finally did it. Pretty good flop for us. Like to bet $1.10 is fine. Somewhere in there. $1.20. Cool. Dollar looks good. Okay. Folding seems fine. All right, again, like this one seems okay. I'm not trying to get you to play every single hand here, but the aces you should play, and there are some other spots where I feel like I'm not trying to make you, I'm not your dad or anything. You live your own life, kid. But I still think there are a couple of spots that you've passed up value on that you're just like clearly could be making money on that you are not. Okay, everyone's passive Peter over here. All right, we would have made it straight. All right. That was the end of the session. So we ended up making $6. We did a pretty good job all in all. I think there were some mistakes that we talked about pretty in depth overall throughout the course of the video. If you guys have, let's full screen it. We'll give it the full treatment. So this was actually pretty fun all in all. Sorry that there's not a real run-up video. I like doing run-up videos on Monday, but there were no games running, and I woke up at 8 in the morning. I actually woke up at like 7 in the morning, but there were no games running anyway, so I had to do an apprentice. But I had a lot of fun with this, actually. So a couple things. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments below anything that came out in this session that you were unsure of or want to hear more about. You can post about it here or on my Facebook page, facebook.com/jcarverpoker. It's become kind of like a hub for talking hands and stuff. So if you guys want to hop over there and talk about hands, share your own hands, talk about hands others are posting, there's a ton of hands on my wall every single day. So some good stuff there to talk about if you want to go check that out. And if you want to be the next run-up apprentice, or at least throw your hat in the ring, so to speak. Did you guys like that? Hat in the ring? You can email me, dearjcarver@gmail.com, subject run-up apprentice, and you can send me a raw hand history file from anywhere in the world. Or if you're in New Jersey or Nevada, you can send me a video of yourself playing on Ultimate Poker. There are instructions on the first Run-Up Apprentice video on how to do that, and I can look at that as well. So I enjoyed this. This was a good session. I think this was a really good mix of fun and poker stuff. So I had a good time. Hopefully you did as well. I will see you back for more very soon. Peace.